I just finished watching all 4 episodes of the Malcolm in the Middle Life Still Unfair Hulu special. And I have a lot of things to say about it, but I just want to point out first how much of a fan I am of Malcolm in the Middle, period. I recorded this shit on TiVo alongside a couple of other shows that were on Fox and maybe Adult Swim at the time. Just that era in the 2000s when Fox was absolutely destroying that 6 to 8 or 9 p.m. TV slot run, that time slot. Fox had so many good shows at the time with this and Simpsons and King of the Hill and all that. But I have so many fond memories with this show. It's got so much 2000s culture in it. It's got one of the best casts ever. I felt like I grew up with these people, and I was raised an only child, and I felt like these were like the brothers that I never had, or like a family that an idea of what it might have been like having siblings, having a lot of siblings, obviously. So I always just really appreciated that about it, I guess, or that feeling that I got from it. I always loved the writing. I think the writing was so smart in a lot of ways and just so funny, and the cast was always knocking it out of the park. Bryan Cranston, you can't get much better than him when it comes to somebody that will give everything that they have to a role. I think it's actually kind of an underrated. I like that they showed Hal a lot of love in this this new special too, but I'll get into that in a little bit. But Hal is such a lovely character that you just can't help but appreciate, as far as how he's kind of the one you feel bad for the most as far as what he has to deal with in the midst of all of the just like absolute fucking debauchery and chaos and just craziness that was happening a lot of the time. So Bryan Cranston obviously is just, I'm a diehard Breaking Bad fan, a diehard Seinfeld fan. He's in that. He's in every Bryan Cranston's been just a part of almost every era of TV for me, and it has been a part of some of my favorite shows of all time. We all love Bryan Cranston. Who doesn't love Bryan Cranston? He's just perfect in a lot of ways as an actor, as a human being. I adore you, Bryan Cranston. I love Jane Kasmerick as Lois. She is so fucking good at making that character so real and but just believable in a lot of ways. A lot of people know mothers like that, but as I've gotten older, it's like I sympathize with her way more because of how just absolute fucking, absolute hellions that she gave birth to, just causing her a lot of problems and shit. It's so it's so funny seeing that was kind of like a switch as I got older. Jane Kasmerick brings like everything that character needs too, the over the top yelling and the like intensity. Like that's one of those characters that like no one else can play her, and no one else can do. Even if somebody else did, they wouldn't do as good of a job. It's like she was one of those moments where she was meant to play that role. She was just always meant to play. I love Christopher Kennedy Masterson as Francis. What I loved about, and I will get into the actual Life Still Unfair special, but I just want to point out, like, all of this. I've watched Malcolm in the Middle maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 times through. So let me just get all of this out, because this feels like kind of it'll be a review of both of them, in a sense. Francis is just a great, such a funny character, and his dynamic with Lois, as well as Malcolm's dynamic with Lois. Those 3 characters specifically have so much that the writers got to work with, like such an interesting type of relationship that they established, and so Francis is so relatable if you are firstborn too. If you are like the first, like I have a younger half brother who was born when I was 16, so I wasn't raised with a sibling, but I am like my parents' first and only kid, so it's like I relate. I think a lot of like firstborns can relate to Francis in that way, and at the same time I can't relate to his like just how stupid he used to make so many stupid decisions. Going to Alaska after like quits military school and then goes to Alaska just like off of a fucking like I might have a job there because my friend told me like he and the episodes where he's in Alaska are so hard to watch because of how much he's like just tortured and dealing with bullshit. And Alaska just sucks to live there. Like who the fuck wants to live there? So it's like funny as hell that he like gets himself into a situation. You want to feel bad for him, but as I've gotten older and anytime I rewatch the series, I'm like, why the fuck did he do that? Like why the fuck? How could he be so dumb? You know, but he is. He's that, you know, he has the traits of a lot of the all of their sons in general, which is they are just, this is a lovely word I learned recently, impetuous. They are just so lacking. It's such a great representation of how young boys can be, is what I love about it. Like he along with the other, you know, all of his brothers are just so like lacking any sort of what will the consequences be of what I do. You know, they don't ever think like what's going to happen after I make this decision or after I do this thing. And it's like why the show was so good. Why the show was so, it was relatable for me even though I didn't grow up with siblings, because you just know if you're in a friend group with a bunch of guys, like you just grow up with like some sort of any sort of clique. I feel like we all have multiple different groups of friends and throughout our lives in general, but when you're at that age, like as soon as you hit like double digits age, like 10 to like 14 or 15 is a very interesting like time for every you know, young male's life, because of that kind of like chaos that you want, all that like just, you know, all the testosterone that you start to really feel. So the show's just so good at like in general making you feel that like unnecessarily male testosterone driven like chaotic energy, and it's just so funny. So Francis is like the beacon of that, I guess, because what's funny about Francis is he doesn't even know that he's doing that. Like, he does so much like stupid, ridiculous shit, and is so good at like compartmentalizing like why he's like, why it's like okay, or why like he is in such deep denial and with a lot of things. And that's why Piam, I'm so glad. I will get into a couple things now with the Life Still Unfair. I like that him and Piama in this Hulu special are like still together, because Piama is like, you know, he subconsciously ended up marrying someone a lot like Lois, actually. Like that episode where they like start to really go at it, she and Lois. It's great. But I'm so happy that he and Piama are still together, because he needs someone like that. Like, he needs someone like Piama to like, you know, stop him from doing stupid shit, basically. And it's great. Reese is such a fucking lovely character because of the wild card he is. He is the Kramer of this show, or the Charlie Day or whatever. You know, Reese is so he was like, you could the writers could do whatever the fuck they wanted with him. They made him like an insanely good chef. His like natural talent was like he's good at cooking food, and it's funny how that makes sense with someone who's like, you know, there's cooking is not only very primal, but it's like very, like when they show the episode where Hal takes him to the cooking class just to like spend some time together or whatever, like him seeing all the knives and seeing all the, like, there's a lot of like rough around the edges kind of thing. So his personality, like when you think about it, cooking can kind of have a lot of things that are rough around the edges as far as like what you have to do when it, you know, this is all very vague. I'm not sure if that makes sense what I'm saying, but that, you know, I think it might have a point there. Anyway, it just fits. It's so fitting for his character. But Reese was always so funny because of how like that stupidity I was talking about with Francis, it's like to the 10th degree with you know, to the 10th fucking power with Reese, as far as how fucking careless and thoughtless he, like, it's way more intense with him, and way more like, oh my god, like it creates some of the funniest moments of the show. And it also, Reese, like, I can picture so many people like hating his character, so many people like him reminding them of someone that they hate, kind of thing. He reminds, like, he'll, you know, he either reminds me of like a friend that I had that would fuck with me growing up, or a bully that I had fucking with me. He's one of those people who'll remind you of all the like pain in the ass, like young people that there can be out there. Like Reese, if anything, right? And it's perfect that they had his character like using social media. Again, I'm gonna get into the actual Life Still Unfair. I love this show too much to not get into these characters one by one. But yeah, he's like literally what, like, kind of like realistically, yeah, like Reese is one of those, like, you know, online prankster, like degenerates that is just like a real like shithead. but we like him anyway. That's who Reese is. He has all these unlikable qualities, but then there are moments where he does, like, the love he has does shine through, or like his humanity does shine through, and there's like just he doesn't know any, but he's like one of those people. Reese does not know any better. He is just a fucking idiot, a total jackass. It's great. I fucking love what that does for their writing. Malcolm, obviously, you know, most people would probably be able to relate to him, but I relate to him a lot. Not, you know, I'm born with some minimal intelligence. I naturally have some minimal intelligence, but I'm not nearly as smart as he is. However, I do relate to that. Like, I was in gifted and advanced classes when I was growing up and hung out with other, like, Krellboins, as they put it. You know, I had that exact same kind of, but I felt like I related to Malcolm as far as that kind of in between of, like, I'm not as lame as these smart people, but I don't really fit in with other people either. You know, I never really, I related to Malcolm in a lot of ways as far as his, like how perceptive he is, and how like he overthinks everything, and how he's just can't seem to turn his brain off. It was such a lovely, perfect character to have, like, as the main character, as to narrate the show, because that's like, from a writer's perspective, like a perfect. It's got like that you know, Brighton Beach Memoirs thing going on too, where it's just like the perspective of the main character is really like, you know, one of the writers channeling all their feelings through that. Like, Malcolm he allowed a lot of the writers to still use their, you know, their creative writing degrees or whatever the fuck. Like, Malcolm allowed the writers to not limit themselves with how intelligent they wanted to actually have this kid speak, or how they, you know, wanted him to present his innermost feelings and thoughts and all that shit. So Malcolm in general is just a perfect character to have as a, like, main narrator, and it being all, like, told through his perspective, because he is so, like, highly perceptive and observes everything so unnecessarily, and I really love that. And as far as, like, how I don't know, he feels like a lot of, like, millennial culture, or there are a lot of things that, like, millennials will probably, like, most people in my age group will probably relate to him the most, if they have half a brain, I guess. But yeah, Malcolm is a, like, lovely kind of blank canvas where you can do whatever you want with him. I love when Malcolm, like, loses his shit, or when, like, you know, he breaks, like when Malcolm breaks and like he can't, like, keep his cool, which is a lot of the time, you know, because he's just, like, dealing with a lot of he's caught, obviously, in the middle of a lot of bullshit. So yeah, I gotta I'm talking about the original series, and we're almost fucking 13 minutes into this shit. Okay, so Malcolm, lovely character as far as, like, how they were able to use him and set him up and all that shit. It's a perfect character to write for. So Dewey, I love, you know, it's a shame that Eric Purcell didn't return for the Life Still Unfair Hulu special, but as far as his performance in the original show, he's great. Dewey is just weird. He's fucking weird. I like that he's, like, a musical genius. Like, he just knows music and is just an amazing pianist. And I related to that in a lot of ways too. Not saying I'm, like, this amazing musician, but, like, that, like, the natural talents that all of the characters have. I love, like, being able to kind of relate to that kind of I just like being able to find different things with the different characters that I can connect with them on. And that's with Dewey. That's the main thing, is how he was just this, like, musically, like, he was just, you know, meant to play music kind of thing. And it's there's obviously a lot more to say about him, but that's something, the main thing that I kind of take away from that character personally. But the other things are just like how Dewey was, like, I don't know, he was like the kid. He was always, like, the kid throughout the series. And they wrote him very well too. He was like this mystery box that, like, as he was getting older, you're always curious, like, what kind of person is he? You know, he is completely different as, like, a little kid. He's, like, fucking sick. He's, like, 6 or 7 or something like that like, he's, like, a little kid when the show starts, and then he's maybe, like, I don't know, in middle school, about to start high school when the show ends. kind of like that age range. So it was always interesting to see like what changes would happen for Dewey, and he was always kind of just like strung along with Reese and Malcolm, like it was like Reese and Malcolm were always getting into some shit, being so close in age, and then Dewey was just kind of like dragged along with it in a lot of ways. But he was always like super adorable and just super well, again, very well written. They just like made his character like funny. I mean, his scream, you can't get any better than like Dewey's high pitched like crazy scream that he would do, which was always so like, especially when there was like insane chaos that happened when they find the spider in the whatever in the bathroom, and then like Hal has to like capture or whatever, and then he's like running with it and Dewey's screaming, and then they throw it at Lois as she's coming into the house. There's moments like that. Dewey was such a perfect add-on to a lot of those moments. You had like the other actors really run, like especially Bryan Cranston and Jane Kasmerick, a lot of like moments where they were really like running the show, or like being like really making the scene work. You had a lot of them handling a lot of bulk of what the scene work was, but then Dewey just being thrown in there was just always funny and just really his character was so charming. That's like, I guess what I always appreciate about Dewey is you just liked the way that they made his character, even though he was kind of like tossed to the side and kind of not, I guess there's not much more I could say about him, because it's not like we get to know him on that deep of a level. He was always kind of that like bit character, that like random, like I just said, like this mystery box of just like you don't really know what to expect from Dewey sometimes. So that was that was those are some of my favorite things with those characters. That's the main cast. So you can't say much about Jamie. It was funny how like Jamie was always trying to like kill Lois and just love destruction and all that crazy shit. They had to like do something with Jamie. And that's about it. All the side characters like Otto and Craig, I think, right? Is Craig is his name? Stevie, all those side characters were so good too. Hal having like a whole group of like black friends is so fucking random but hilarious, and makes sense. It makes so much sense as far as like Hal is just that likable that he could just fit in with that. That's like the point I think they were trying to make, is that like he could just fit in with anybody, but like even with like an entire friend group of just all black guys. Like that's so fitting. It's just fitting. It's not like something like that would probably feel forced nowadays, or like be looked at as completely different. It would be like something that people would talk about online if like that was a thing airing in a show nowadays. But what I love about that is like any real Malcolm in the Middle fans like didn't even really like, you don't really notice it. It's like they never made that. I mean, even when they made jokes about that, they like it was like a fake out. Like anytime you think Hal is gonna bring up that he's like, oh, he's white and they're all black, or he like they don't, like he ends up saying something else. So it was great that they just didn't, that wasn't ever like heavy handed, and that wasn't annoying or whatever. So having said all of that, obviously I have a lot of love for this show. Having said all of that, let's get into the Life's Still Unfair. There's a lot of things that I loved, a lot of things that even the things that I wasn't crazy about kind of grew on me and made a lot of sense as I was watching the last episode. What I will say is, don't give up after the first. Like as far as if you're feeling like it's not, like, one thing that I can definitely say is it's not like the same vibe of the original series. It's that's everything nowadays. I mean, just the way that this show is shot. I've seen people posting on certain like on Reddit or whatever, certain groups talking about like Malcolm in the Middle, talking about whatever. They talk about how like just like the colors look completely different, and how like modern cinematography like very much like has like very little personality. So there is that. It's not like just the way that the show looks does look like too modern in a lot of ways. It would be great if it was almost had like more of those soft glows and that like, I don't know, amber kind of color, that like saturation that the original series had, which was it's what I love so much about older stuff, and how a lot of stuff was like shot on film. Though I don't know. From what I've seen, I think the pilot of Malcolm in the Middle originally was shot in both digital and film, but mostly film, I think. Throughout the series, I'm pretty sure it's all shot on film. But the way that things used to be shot in that, like how much vibrance there was and how much it really pops at you. The new vibe of the new show is just like a lot of things nowadays, just digitally lifeless and lacking kind of any sort of fun. It's like the visually and just the cinematography alone doesn't have much just to say. Like, there's not anything I can say about that because it's just one of those like clean cut, dry, all right, moving on kind of thing. No personality, no nothing. So that was one thing that I really like, noticed immediately, was like, all right, yeah, this definitely feels like a modern fucking thing, right? I want to say first and foremost, I love all sorts of people of different genders. I love all sorts of people of different walks of life, and everyone being represented in media and entertainment. I'm all for that. I'm all for like things being people being able to be who they are. However, like the one thing this show does that every other modern show does, which I thought was so, I was basically kind of internally rolling my eyes at it. And this is one of the few things that actually, like, my thoughts on this kind of changed as I was finishing the last episode. But this is one of those shows where, yeah, they make characters gay suddenly, or like there's like a non-binary character, or like there's like all, like Malcolm's daughter and stuff, like and his new girlfriend or whatever, like those characters are so just suddenly thrown in. And we're kind of expected to just like get to know them and like them and feel the same way about them that we feel with the family, like within 4 episodes. I mean, that's tough. That's fucking hard. But, while I didn't really like love a lot of those choices, it was kind of just like, my God, like, why is this in everything? Why is it? Again, I have no problem with like people being represented. I think everyone should. Like, every story should be told. Every person that's like a human being should be seen in that way. I would never think that that's not important. However, I do think it's such a kind of a cliche and an annoying, unnecessary, shoehorned, thrown in fucking idea that people want to just like put in there. And because I'm sure LA, despite obviously what we know about Hollywood now, LA is so like, holier. It's like a whole like holier than thou. Like, everyone's so up their own asses with how fucking much they virtue signal. Probably, it's like, I wonder how much of that influences these things. Like, I wonder how much of these people are like, like wanting to. It's just so heavy-handed every single time. It was very reminiscent of like how I felt watching the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I talked about it for over an hour and a half. That review was because of how much I was not a fan of that shit. The thing with this versus that was this was actually had some funny moments and did have, despite saying that it was not the same vibe and all these criticisms, there were funny moments. There were a lot of good moments. I just want to get all of my criticisms out of the way so I don't forget. But that stuff is always so heavy-handed. I'm not, crazy about it. However, it makes sense. When I was thinking about it, I was like, wait a minute, that makes total fucking sense why they did that. So I'll get into a couple mild spoilers here. The baby that Lois was pregnant with as the series ended, in the very last sequence, the very last scene, the very last shots of the series is like a long, like kind of pan to left to right with all the different characters kind of moving on with their lives. This is the last 2 or 3 minutes of the series, right? Literally last minute or so. Lois walks in like freaking out, like while Hal's in the bed, and she holds up a pregnancy test and it's positive, and Hal just screams, and that's the last moment that we have with them in the original series. While I was kind of annoyed that they made that baby that she was pregnant with, her name's Kelly in this series, and she's non-binary. At first, I was like, why did they throw that in? And then as I was thinking about it, I was like, wait, no, duh. They never revealed the gender in the original series, so that was like actually a very clever way of them being like, we never established what the gender of this baby was, so it was like they were able to like keep it ambiguous. No different than like how Maggie Simpson, like they find a reason for her not to talk, and she has talked as an adult at this point, but when they started doing in The Simpsons, when they started doing like flash forwards and the kids were older, they always had like a reason why Maggie was quiet or why she couldn't speak, and I thought that was always very funny because they just didn't like have to. They realized like, oh yeah, no, it's like let's stick with what is known or whatever. So what was established is that, yeah, she was just pregnant And then they never revealed any sort of like the baby that was like the last moment we had of the show. So I thought that was actually kind of clever in hindsight, as I was as much as and of course the character was like that, you know, too smart for their own good, too very like, again, just cliched, like no different than like the character Zero in that movie, that show Stick that I just watched recently with Owen Wilson. Like the same fucking shit. And it's just, you know, while I was kind of annoyed at that, I was like that character actually grew on me a lot. All the characters that I didn't really care for at first grew on me a lot more as the show, as that last episode was wrapping up. I would say this whole thing is worth watching just for the last episode, because it's they really bring like everyone back in that last one, and it's everyone that was able to, that hasn't passed away or was actually returned. Which makes it all the much sadder that Eric Purcell-Sullivan didn't want to participate. It's a shame that, you know, the only thing that makes me sad about him not being in it is you would think that the show like meant something to him, or you would think that like these moments in these people's lives would hold a special place in their hearts. But that kid clearly just fucking hates acting, or hated like just being on sets, and I don't blame him. Like a lot of child actors stop because they had no childhood and were forced to be fucking working all the time, and that's gotta suck. So I don't blame him, but I'm also kind of like, it's kind of sad that like he wasn't a part of it when literally fucking everyone else is. And the kid that played him looks like, I don't know, he's like I mean this in the least mean way possible, but like he looked like a lot older than Dewey should look, is all. Like he just looked oddly like, and I don't think the actor is old. He just looks old. He's got like that, you know, just kind of like ruggedness, I guess, and just, you know, looks literally, he's like the antithesis of that like cute little like kid that we saw growing up. So it was just, you know, and at the same time, I think he did a good job as well. I was kind of like at first, and then by the end of it, I was just like, that actually all feels like, it felt like who Dewey would be when he's older. He's like a touring pianist, like, you know, sleeping with like French women and shit, like just hanging out with like he's on. And the funniest thing is, I think they wrote it this way just in case like Eric Purcell-Sullivan didn't want to be a part of it, or maybe they did this because he wasn't going to be part of it, but they had him on like just a laptop the whole time. Like you never actually see there are a couple of moments, very few moments, where you actually see adult Dewey in the scenes and with family and in person, but not throughout the majority of it. He's just on a laptop. So that was kind of just, I don't know, something was like lost there, the fact that Dewey isn't there and actually a part of it. Malcolm's daughter is really charming and a lot like him, actually. She's the actress that plays her is really solid. She at first, like when you see that, when she starts narrating, at first I was just like, oh man, like why are they, you know, like giving this much narration, or I guess this much of a spotlight on this character that we're just meeting for the first time. But they wrote her like so close to like how Malcolm actually is. It was kind of refreshing to see, like, I don't know, just the fact that Malcolm has a kid at all is kind of like wild, you know? So it was really lovely to see that, oh, Malcolm's a dad now. Like there was something so lovely about that. Something so just actually kind of fitting. Even though it's fucked up that like her mom basically had her and then just like left and like abandoned them, and it's like I don't it's like they had to do that so that they wouldn't have too many characters. But he's dating this new woman as well, and you know, their characters are good, but it just, I couldn't help but feel like it was this, you know, yeah, like female empowerment. Let's throw women into this. What was originally a very male dominated series, and it's just kind of, I don't know. It's fine, I guess. I liked the characters, but I didn't like that. I don't know. I guess it was just the fact that it was all so sudden. When you have to do so much with such a small runtime, though, as well. I mean, 4 episodes, 25 minutes. It was like 100 minutes, like basically like an hour and a half movie. I don't know. I guess I didn't like that. It felt like I had to like these characters. It felt like they were expecting me to just. I mean, that's how step parents feel sometimes. How some people deal with step parents. It's like, hey, this is who I married. Now you have to like them. They're your new step parent. It's kind of like how it felt. Is all. It felt like a very like. The expectation to just like really love these characters as much as the original cast and the original family, which is just. I mean, I liked all the side characters in the last episode coming at I like them being there way more than any of the new characters, and that's because that's just the characters that we remember. Those are the people that we grew up with, or that I was watching for all those years. So again, I think women in stories are great. I just don't understand why they're like forced. The writing is like so forced for them to be in it. Is like what I guess I'm trying to get at. I don't hate that they're these like new characters and that they're women and that we have to like them or whatever. It's like the fact that it feels forced and it feels like just, I don't know. Maybe I would feel different if it was a full like 8 to 10 episode run and we got to know them more. But, I think what I do again, where this reminds me of Jay and Silent Bob reboot is what I don't appreciate. I don't dislike female characters. Some of my favorite characters in all sorts of movies and TV shows of all time. Some of my favorite characters of all time are women. Specifically, Claire and Ruth Fisher in 6 Feet Under are some of my favorite female characters of all time. Elaine in Seinfeld, one of my favorites. I fucking love when women aren't there to just be a voice of reason. Like, that's what these characters do. That's what Kevin Smith's daughter and all of her posse in the Jay and Silent Bob reboot are. It's like I don't understand why. I guess that's why I like Elaine Bennis as a character in Seinfeld so much, is because she wasn't that at all. Like she's like the total opposite of that, if anything. But I love when women are when they're just people in a story and they're not like. They don't have to be this like voice of reason and the like nagging, like that cliche, like, oh, the nagging wife who, has a point and she is right. We're men, we're being dumbasses, and I guess that's what those characters were for me. I don't like that, like Malcolm's daughter and his girlfriend were like kind of being dicks to him. Like they were being like, and it was all like, it was justified because the biggest issue with his character, not the biggest issue, but like where the conflict of this life's still unfair special is, well, the main conflict is that Malcolm basically, like, as soon as his daughter was born, as soon as he went to college, he was basically ghosting his family, keeping in touch with them very like minimally, like barely like seeing them. Hadn't seen like Lois hadn't met her granddaughter until she was in high school. I don't know if Malcolm would actually do that. Like Malcolm, it makes sense that he would be selfish, or that he would be like, as soon as he got away from his family, he's like, oh my God, I'm not healthy around them, or I like hate my family, kind of like I get, I don't relate to that, but I get why he probably, like, why they made that decision to do that. Like, oh, well, realistically, what would Malcolm do? He probably would distance himself from that. But I mean, his daughter's in high school essentially, and he never introduced her to his family. I mean, or introduce his family to her or whatever, like I don't know if Malcolm would do that. Like maybe, not spend as much time with them, but I don't know. That was a very like such a TV written thing, or just such an easy conflict to like throw in there. It was like, oh yeah, Malcolm is kind of like, cut everyone off, and I'm like conflicted about it, because it's like it makes sense, but it's like I think they went to like an extreme with it, as opposed to a it being more realistic. I don't know, whatever. The original show wasn't realistic either way, and then this show doesn't. If anything, this modern take on it and the continuation of these characters is too realistic, to the point where I really don't think a lot of it is. It's too serious a lot of times. The women being the voice of reason and sucking the fun out of all of it, or sucking the, like, being like, just whatever, like being stick in the mud kind of thing, as opposed to them adding to the comedy of it, or adding to the craziness of it. Like, none of that. There was no chaos. There's no, like, until the very last episode, actually. The very last episode, the last bit of it does feel like a Malcolm moment, but I Yeah, as far as female characters, I love when they're written like people. Like I love Beth Dutton in Yellowstone. I love like when they don't try to make them look like so perfect, because yes, all of you women are perfect, but some of you aren't. You know, I just like when women are treated as human beings in stories and not like, you know, these perfect people that are on their high horse fucking handing out life lessons to everyone that we don't fucking care about. Where is the screaming? Where is the chaos? That's what I wanted. And there wasn't that. There's a bunch of people handing out life. Like, what the fuck kind of shit is that? The original series is so similar, like Seinfeld in that way, where there was no lessons learned. Like the kids never learn their lesson and continue to be fucking menaces of society. And that's like the best part of it. That's why the show is good, or why we liked watching it. It's like, what's this crazy family going to get into this week? And all of that was just like suck. All that fun of the show was just completely sucked out of it with this like realistic modern depiction where everyone has to be represented and everything has to be accounted for, you know. And I'm just kind of like, I mean, it's not till the last episode that we get, you know, Malcolm and Lois having like a real deep conversation. And again, all these things suddenly, like it felt like Malcolm by the end, and it grew on me. And I ended up liking these characters, his new girlfriend and his daughter, and the non-binary, you know, Kelly daughter, or whatever. It's like a daughter, a born daughter, but non-binary, whatever the fuck. So, as much, you know, like these characters definitely grew on me at the end. It's like I wanted more of what that last episode was, and it's like as soon as it was getting good, it was over, or as soon as it started feeling like the show again, it was over, and that was just kind of like, damn. Like I hope they make more now, because I would love to see if they just kept doing something with the Malcolm universe. It's great, and it felt like they could, like they left on this, you know, Malcolm and his daughter kind of starting to kind of sync up as far as like them both narrating, and that could be a cool thing too, where it's like if they did continue it, they both narrate and they're both in on the like who they're narrating to, which is us, the audience, right? But I really do feel like a lot of the stuff was just forced. That's my only like problem with it. I don't care that, you know, they're trying to like, I don't understand like why these comedy, these comedic stories, or these characters, these things that are based in like exaggerated reality and I keep saying it, but like that chaos of Malcolm, like these characters are born in that, and then they like, you know, they bring these shows back, and they're trying to make, I don't understand why they always try to make the characters like grow up or like learn. Like everything has to be a life lesson in all these things. And it's like, I don't fucking want that. I don't want any life lessons sometimes. Sometimes I literally just want to see Lois screaming at them for being little shitheads. That's like exactly why I watched Malcolm in the Middle in the first place. So, you know, I just don't like that the new one just takes itself so seriously. I don't like that it's trying to be, you know, this new spin on it. It's like sometimes like just do the thing. I love when just like keep the original thing going. Even something like Jackass Forever felt kind of forced and felt like all these new people, like again, new people, new faces that I don't really give a shit about. Like I guess I'm annoyed with things. It's like either continue it the right way or give the audience more of what they want, what they love, why they're watching it in the first place. Give them more of that, or don't do it at all. Like they don't have to do this stuff. It's cool that they did, and it's great that they do a lot of these things thinking of like, well, all these people are gonna die someday, you know, like Bryan Cranston, Jane Kaczmarek are getting up there now in their 60s or whatever the fuck. So it's like, I get why that's such a thing nowadays, you know, people wanting to have that last like hoorah with those characters before they get too old to do it. But I don't know. I again, it's such a mixed bag, because there were some genuinely funny moments. Then in the third episode, there's this like part where like Hal like takes too many shrooms or some sort of hallucinogenics. They don't say what it is, but you know, he walks in with his with his friend Gary Anthony Williams. Fuck, I forget the character's name, but he walks in with him and Gary Anthony Williams is talking about microdosing. So I'm assuming they're like shroom pills or some sort of something. And he takes, you know, a shitload of it, takes like an entire bowl of it because he's Hal and he's just doesn't think. And then he has like this crazy trip and this like ego death in this room. That was a lovely moment. The spotlight on Hal, again, like I said, Bryan Cranston is just the best. You can't get enough of that. It's amazing. It's like that part was so memorable, actually, seeing like having that moment with Hal, very reminiscent of like Tony Soprano's weird dreams and shit like that. Like you got this much more, and there was a lot of that in the original series actually though too. Like Hal being in his own head and kind of, you know, going into these different realms of like who he was that didn't exist in reality. So it was kind of, you know, like I can't really think of any right now, but you know what I mean. If you're a fan of the show, you know, yeah, Hal is kind of in his own world sometimes, and it's that. So that him having like a trip and having this whole like experience, finding out who he is, like he has this whole he has this moment of you know, feeling like he's not needed anymore because all of his kids have moved out, or like, you know, most of them moved out at least, and he you know, but then he has this realization during his trip that he is like an endless cake that you can just keep taking, this endless source of love that he has to give, basically. And it's a really lovely moment. Like that alone is seriously worth watching if you're a fan of this show, if you're a fan of Malcolm, the original Malcolm show. What, like, you're basically, it's like you're basically watching it for Hal, Malcolm, and like Reese and Francis. Everyone else is kind of just there, but those four, the core four, you know, them and Lois, those core five characters are still there and still have like the spirit of them of the character is still in them, and that all is so rewarding to see. That they did do a very good job of that as far as like putting a spotlight on those. And Francis had a lot of involvement too. It's such a shame how his brother Danny Masterson's a piece of shit, fucking, you know what. But yeah, I just found it interesting to see, like, wow, Danny Masters in fucking prison for being a rapist, and his brother is like rehashing his character as Francis in this show. So I feel bad for him is what I mean. Because I like him a lot. I like him I love Christopher Kennedy Masterson in Scary Movie 2 as well. I've always really appreciated him. So yeah, all of the core group is there, excluding Dewey. We have that core group, and everything is there's so much of both. There's so much of that like modern take on like this older show that's like kind of eye rolling at times. It's not so bad. Like even when those things are kind of annoying, it's not so like abrasively in your face. Honestly, it's like they did like what I appreciate about all that stuff, even though I was just complaining about it a little bit ago. I do appreciate that it felt like it was just kind of, they just blended it in there, and it as much as I wasn't crazy about it, it felt like somewhat natural. Like at least it felt like they at least tried to naturally bring that stuff in. You know, while I wasn't crazy about those modern things, though, a lot of the heart of the original show is in there still. Watching these actors, watching Jane Kasmerick as Lois was like totally believable. She and Hal alone, like Lois and Hal, they're still there. Like they're such seasoned actors, and they're so good that those characters are still there. Frankie Muniz as Malcolm. I mean, that's like that's his thing, you know. He can't, after his stroke and shit, and just, you know, how long ago it was for all of them. He doesn't remember a lot of it in filming the original series, but you know, that it's so great to see all of them back on the saddle again, is I guess what I'm trying to say. So that was great, and that was there. Like all of that was like the feeling of those core characters was still nice and strongly present, is what I'm trying to say. And all the side characters too, to be honest, from the original series as well. Either way, despite all of my like mixed feelings and criticisms, I think this is totally worth watching if you're a fan of Malcolm in the Middle. I do think that it's just lovely to revisit these characters and have spend some more time with. That's how I look at this shit nowadays. It's like, all right, I got to spend a little bit more time with those characters and have an idea of like, hey, what are they up to now? And that's enough. Like, for me, I love the characters that much that I'm like, awesome, awesome. Like, that we have it at all. I'd rather have it and it's, and have these mixed feelings about it than not watch it, than it not exist at all. I'm very happy that that's a thing. So I think that a lot of my criticisms do have some validity to them, and I think that I also think that the things that are strong are very strong as well. It's so much of both, but overall it's worth watching, and definitely it was putting a smile on my face the whole time. I won't deny that. It was putting a big old smile on my face, and it was just nice. It was a nice moment for anybody that remembers this show fondly, or anybody that's a big fan of this show. I mean, like I said, I've seen this 3 or 4 times through at least, and man, I miss that time so much. I miss the 2000s very much. So anytime I rewatch the original series, it's kind of like trying to just like, same thing with Seinfeld, like where Seinfeld is locked in the 90s for me. Malcolm in the Middle is always what I think about, like the first show that comes to mind when I want to kind of revisit how it felt being in the 2000s. And I really just miss that. Overall, I think I just miss that era of my life. Maybe that's where I'll always have mixed feelings about these things being brought back or these characters being revisited, is because I have to swallow the hardest pill in the world that I'm getting older and I'm gonna die. No, but I'm getting older, and it's the saddest thing to see. Like, damn, like Cranston and Jane Kazmarek are gray. They're gray as fuck, and they're older, much older. 20 fucking years later, So I think, a lot of that, maybe my mixed feelings could be that could be where they're coming from. That realization that I'm suddenly a lot older, and I don't like it. I want to stay not a kid forever, but I want to stay in a time before the internet ruined everything, essentially. So Malcolm in the Middle is so lovely to revisit because you get such a high dose of that. Like, oh yeah, what were people doing before social media? They're still acting like a bunch of fucking nuts, but but it was a fun time. It was fun because people weren't worried about getting filmed and getting, blown up on online or whatever, getting blasted online. So, and that, again, see, that's what works for the show. Like, it couldn't be made today because then all of the kids would just be put in juvenile prison. Like it works in the era of the 2000s because of how much they're able to get away with. Like they're it's like, oh, they're just kids and they just like get away with a bunch of shit. But anyway, I guess I've said enough that I could say about Malcolm in the Middle and this Hulu special. What do you guys think of Malcolm in the Middle? Did you watch it? Did you grow up with it like I did? Did you watch it after it was like on streaming and you didn't grow up in that era, but you have an appreciation for it? I'm curious to know what other people think of Malcolm in the Middle, honestly, because it's I think it's one of the. To me, it reminds me of, like anytime I think of it, it always feels like a lot of people watched it, but I don't know how many people are like real like diehard fans of it. I would consider anything that I've watched a TV series, especially if I've watched it like 3 or 4 or 5 times or more, then I'm a diehard fan of that. And this is one of those few shows that I have seen many, many times. I mean, watching this shit just made me want to rewatch the show, honestly. But I already rewatched it like a couple years back, and I don't want to get sick of it. I like Malcolm in the Middle so much that I don't want to rewatch it obsessively and ruin it for myself. So that I can, if I have a family someday of my own, I would absolutely fucking love to watch that show with them. Like if I had like a couple of sons someday, if that does it, I go back and forth with whether I want kids at all, because Jesus Christ, it would be really bad for them to deal with climate change and the just horrors of whatever the future of our world is going to be. I think I go back and forth in my head with that stuff. But if I do ever, have kids, and especially like if I have sons, this is the first show I'd want to watch with them. Like this and like Pokemon and certain things that were very like close, like that I hold very near and dear to my heart. I 100% this would be the first show I would want to watch with them. And man, I love Malcolm in the Middle so fucking much. Just has a vibe. It just has a lovely vibe. Even though that vibe wasn't so present in this new one, it's still there. Like, it was hidden in there. Like, the way that the original show felt was there in certain moments, in certain spots. It'd be cool if they made more of this, but if they don't, that was an interesting moment in our modern culture where we got to, you know, this is where the internet does like make these things happen, because they see how many people are fans of it, and that's great. It's great that that the gang gets to get back together again. I've always just loved seeing like a group of characters, a gang, a clique, a posse, a crew. You know, like you want to. I think growing up as an only child, like I was always kind of wanting that. I still want that. Like I have like different pockets of friend groups, but I don't have like a posse necessarily. Maybe like my friends that I work with, but I just work with them. You know, it's like that's where we all spend the most time together. But outside of work and just in life in general, I've always wanted like a clique in that way, and I feel like I get that through TV shows. I get that with Abbott Elementary right now, because that ensemble is so perfect. Like those characters are like played perfectly by the actors, and I love TV for that reason, and anything that's got like this ensemble cast of characters that makes me feel like I can be a part of their group too, because I feel fucking lonely as shit a lot of the time. Kind of. Sometimes I feel very, very alone, just in who I am and how I feel about myself, my place in the world, and you know, I guess just I love to like vicariously experience all sorts of other stories and other lives that I could have lived if I wasn't just kind of hanging out in my room all the time watching TV and playing music or whatever. So TV is very important to me, and certain groups like this are very important to me. So I'm glad that they were treated with some love and care, is what I will say about this new special, is that they were treated with way more love and care than I expected to, and what I would expect from most other shows or anything that's like a, you know, some sort of whatever soft reboot, whatever the fuck. There's not much else to say about it, but yeah, I could talk about Malcolm in the Middle all the time, all day, because it's just very funny and very charming and makes me happy. Malcolm in the Middle makes me so happy. I might just start rewatching or throwing it on in the background, because it, like that show, like Hey Arnold, certain shows, like if it's on, I'm going to feel good. I'm going to feel happy watching it, because it's just totally perfect, immaculate 2000s vibes. That's it. It's just it's a post Y2K perfection of vibes. And that's all I can say about it, I guess. Go check it out. If you're a diehard fan of the show, definitely watch it. If you've never watched the show, if you only watched the show a little bit, like watch the fucking show first. And then if you really love it, then definitely check out the new one. But yeah. Bye.